Can a single root really restore a fading memory? Research shows that curcumin, the key ingredient in turmeric, crosses into your brain and binds to the toxic protein clusters linked to memory decline. A major 2025 review of clinical trials found that adults using the right form improved their working memory and mental processing speed. Most people have been taking the wrong kind, which means they're barely absorbing any of the active compound. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to source, prepare, and use this root so it actually reaches your brain. If you've ever watched a parent or grandparent struggle to recall a name or lose their train of thought mid-sentence, you already know how much this matters. But before we talk about how this root works, we need to understand what's actually causing the fog in the first place. Most people over 65 notice their memory isn't what it used to be. They walk into a room and forget why they got up, or they misplace their keys 3 times a week. Their family tells them it's just part of getting older, and they start to believe there's nothing they can do about it. That belief is the real problem, because memory loss isn't just about age. It's about what happens inside your brain when age meets modern life. Over decades, tiny toxic proteins called beta amyloid start stacking up in your hippocampus, which is the part of your brain that stores memories. These proteins clump together like sticky tangles, and they choke the connections between your brain cells. When those connections slow down, your memory slows down too. Scientists have known about this buildup for years, but most people have never heard of it because it happens silently. There's no pain and no warning signal. The fog just thickens a little more every year. Traditional memory aids don't address this buildup at all. Crossword puzzles and brain games help keep your mind active, but they don't clear out the toxic proteins. They exercise the brain without cleaning the house. Meanwhile, processed foods, environmental stressors, and chronic low-grade inflammation pour more fuel on the fire. Your brain sits in a soup of inflammation and oxidative stress that damages neurons day after day. Most people never connect their diet or stress levels to their forgetfulness, but the link is direct and well documented. By age 65, the hippocampus has already begun shrinking in most people. That doesn't mean everyone loses their memory, but it means the risk is real and it's structural. The other factor most people miss is how modern stress changes the brain's chemistry. Cortisol, your body's main stress hormone, rises with age and with worry. When cortisol stays elevated, it actually speeds up the buildup of those toxic proteins and makes it harder for your brain to form new memories. So the brain fog you blame on aging is really a combination of protein buildup, inflammation, oxidation, and stress chemistry that builds up at the same time. Your brain's structure can heal when you give it the right tools. So now that you see what's stacking up inside the brain, let's look at how this ancient root works, like a tiny cleanup crew. Curcumin is the bright yellow compound that gives turmeric its color, and traditional healers have used it for thousands of years. For a long time, people thought it was just a spice with some mild anti-inflammatory properties. But modern research has revealed something much more interesting. Curcumin is one of the few natural molecules small enough to cross the blood-brain barrier, which is your brain's security wall that keeps most substances out. Most supplements never make it past this wall, which is why they don't do much for brain health, but curcumin gets through. Once it gets inside, it goes to work on the exact mess we just talked about. First, curcumin binds directly to beta amyloid plaques. A study that came out back in 2005 showed that curcumin not only stops new plaques from forming, but it also latches onto existing ones and helps break them apart. Curcumin works like a molecular vacuum that attaches to the sticky tangles and pulls them apart so your brain clears them out. That's structural repair, not a temporary mask over the symptoms. Research from 2023 confirmed that certain enhanced forms of curcumin, like curcumin, maintain this plaque-binding ability while improving how much actually reaches the brain. Second, curcumin calms the chronic inflammation inside your neural tissue. Inflammation is your body's defense system, but when it runs non-stop in the brain, it starts damaging the very cells it's supposed to protect. Curcumin turns down the volume on that inflammatory response, which gives your neurons room to breathe and repair themselves. Third, curcumin acts as an antioxidant shield. Every cell in your body produces oxidative waste as a byproduct of normal function, and brain cells are especially vulnerable to this damage. Curcumin neutralizes those waste products before they can corrode your neurons. The combined effect is that your hippocampus gets a chance to recover. Synaptic connections that were choked by plaques and inflammation start opening back up. Processing speed improves because signals don't have to fight through as much gunk to travel from one brain cell to the next. Working memory gets stronger because the hippocampus has more functional tissue to work with. This is why curcumin differs from synthetic alternatives or quick-fix supplements that flood the market. Most of those give you a temporary jolt, like caffeine or a sugar rush, and then wear off. Curcumin doesn't stimulate your brain. It repairs the physical environment so your brain functions the way nature designed it to function. This all sounds great in theory, but the real test is whether it shows up in real people. The numbers say yes. In 2025, researchers published an updated systematic review and meta-analysis in Frontiers in Nutrition that pooled data from multiple randomized controlled trials on curcumin and cognitive function. They found that while curcumin didn't show a huge effect on every single measure of cognition, it produced measurable improvements in working memory and processing speed in human adults. That matters because working memory is what you use when you hold a phone number in your head long enough to dial it, or when you follow the steps of a recipe without looking back at the page. Processing speed is how quickly your brain connects a face to a name or reacts to a question in conversation. A separate systematic review from mid-2025, published in PMC, looked at both rodent and human data. In rodent models of Alzheimer's disease, curcumin improved memory acquisition and retention significantly. The human data was more modest, but still positive. Adults taking bioavailable curcumin forms showed better working memory performance compared to those taking placebo. A 2024 systematic review in Cureus also tracked inflammatory markers alongside cognitive scores, and found that as curcumin reduced systemic inflammation, cognitive test scores moved in the right direction. And this is where it gets interesting. In real life, imagine a 70-year-old who used to forget why she walked into the kitchen. After 30 days on a properly absorbed curcumin protocol, she starts remembering her grocery list without writing it down. She follows conversations without losing the thread. She finds her keys in the same place she left them. These aren't miracle transformations. They're small, steady improvements in the daily tasks that make up quality of life. That's the difference between a temporary caffeine-like spike and the permanent structural repair curcumin offers. A stimulant wakes you up for a few hours, but curcumin clears the physical debris so your brain works better tomorrow than it did yesterday. The benefits build over weeks and months, because the repairs are real. Most of the positive human trials ran between 12 and 24 weeks, which means you need consistency, not a one-time dose. The brain is a slow-healing organ, and expecting overnight results would be unrealistic. But the trajectory is what matters. Month by month, the toxic load goes down, inflammation stays lower, and your memory center gets a little more room to do its job. But here's where most people get it wrong. They buy the cheap turmeric powder at the grocery store and barely absorb any of the active compound. Here's the problem that stops most people from getting results. Standard curcumin powder has terrible bioavailability. Your body breaks it down and flushes it out before it can reach your bloodstream, let alone your brain. You could eat spoonfuls of turmeric every day and still only absorb a tiny fraction of the active compound. That's why so many people try turmeric, feel nothing, and conclude it doesn't work. Most people blame the spice, but the real culprit is their body chemistry. What actually matters is the form, not the dose. The breakthrough came when researchers discovered that piperine, the compound in black pepper, increases curcumin absorption by as much as 2,000%. That's not a typo. When you combine curcumin with even a small amount of black pepper extract, your body suddenly absorbs enough to matter. It's the simplest and cheapest way to make turmeric work. Just add black pepper to your turmeric intake, or look for a supplement that already includes piperine. For brain health specifically, even better options exist. Longvita uses solid lipid particle technology that researchers designed specifically to deliver curcumin across the blood-brain barrier. Meriva binds curcumin to phosphatidylcholine, which improves absorption throughout the body. BCM95 combines curcumin with turmeric essential oils to boost retention in the bloodstream. And Curcumin uses a fenugreek fiber matrix that protects curcumin from early breakdown. For cognitive support, Longvita and Meriva are the most studied options because they prioritize getting the compound where it needs to go. For a daily protocol, aim for 500 to 2,000 milligrams of an enhanced curcumin form, taken with a meal that contains healthy fat. Fat helps your body absorb curcumin, so taking it with olive oil, avocado, nuts, or fish works better than taking it on an empty stomach. Morning works best because it gives you antioxidant protection throughout the day, and it won't interfere with sleep the way some supplements can. If you prefer food over pills, you can make golden milk with turmeric, black pepper, coconut milk, and a little honey. Heat also increases absorption, so warming the mixture helps. Now, a brief safety note because this matters. If you or the person you're buying for takes blood thinners like warfarin, talk to a doctor before adding curcumin. Curcumin has natural anticoagulant properties, and combining it with prescription blood thinners can increase bleeding risk. The same caution applies if you take aspirin or other clot-preventing medications regularly. People with gallbladder issues, bile duct obstruction, GERD, or stomach ulcers should also get medical guidance first. And if surgery is coming up, stop curcumin at least 2 weeks beforehand. For most healthy adults, curcumin is safe at the doses we just discussed, and side effects are rare and mild. But it's always worth being careful, especially when memory and medication are both on the table. Once you have the right form and the right routine, the question becomes how you protect these gains long-term. Curcumin's benefits multiply when you stick with it. Inflammation doesn't vanish overnight, and plaques don't melt away in a single weekend. But month after month, the compound keeps binding to new protein clusters keeps calming neural inflammation, and keeps shielding your brain cells from oxidative damage. Over time, this creates a compounding effect. Your brain starts operating in a cleaner environment, which means the memories you form today have a better chance of sticking around tomorrow. Curcumin also delivers secondary benefits that support your brain indirectly. Many users report better sleep cycles after a few weeks of consistent use, and sleep is when your brain clears out waste through its glymphatic system. Less systemic inflammation means less joint pain, better digestion, and easier movement, all of which keep you active and socially engaged. Social engagement is one of the strongest protectors of cognitive health in older age, so the ripple effect goes further than you might expect. For maintenance, consistency beats intensity. A moderate daily dose taken every morning for 6 months will outperform a high dose taken sporadically. Picture brushing your teeth. You don't brush for an hour once a month. You brush for 2 minutes every day. Curcumin works the same way. It's a maintenance tool for your brain's physical environment. If you want to stack the deck even further, pair curcumin with omega-3 fatty acids from fish oil or algae. Omega-3s support the cell membranes that make up your brain's wiring, and curcumin protects those membranes from inflammation and oxidation. The two work together like a repair crew and a security team. Add regular walks, good sleep, and meaningful conversations with people you care about, and you've built a lifestyle that defends your memory from every angle. The biggest change is in how you think about aging. Most people accept memory decline as an inevitable part of aging. But your brain isn't a fixed machine that slowly rusts. It's a living organ that repairs itself when you give it the right raw materials. Curcumin is one of those materials, and it has been sitting in plain sight since ancient times. Research finally caught up with what traditional healers knew centuries ago. You don't have to accept the fog, and you can take steps to clear it. So that's the complete picture. Curcumin enters your brain, binds to toxic proteins, and supports real neural repair when you take the right bioavailable form every day. If this helped you understand your own brain a little better, there's plenty more where it came from. Every week we dig into the simple, natural tools that real research backs for protecting your memory, your energy, and your independence as you age. So subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because the next one builds right on what you just learned, and you won't want to miss it.